You ever look back at your life and think, man, I really thought I had it all figured out? Yeah, that was me. Up until not too long ago, I honestly believed I was living a damn near perfect life. I met Amanda in college. She was a literature major. I was struggling through computer science. She always had her nose in a book, and I was the guy who barely made it to class on time with a half-eaten bagel. But we met at a campus coffee shop cliché, I know, and somehow it just clicked. She laughed at my stupid jokes. I pretended to understand her love for poetry. We balanced each other, fire and water, and over time, something real grew out of it. We dated all through senior year, moved in together after graduation, and 5 years later, we tied the knot. 10 years together, 5 married, no kids be choice. We had plans, big ones, travel, careers, maybe start a family when the timing felt right. We weren't rich, but we were comfortable. She became a high school English teacher. I landed a solid job in IT. Nights were for Netflix. Weekends were for hiking or dinner with friends. We were that couple, you know? The one people looked at and said, they've got it made. And I believed it. I really did. But then, little things started creeping in. Nothing dramatic at first. Just tiny shifts. Things I could almost ignore almost. She started spending more time on her phone. At first, I didn't think anything of it. Everyone's glued to their screens these days. But it wasn't just scrolling or texting. It was the way she'd tilt the screen away. Or how she'd suddenly go quiet if I walked into the room. I brushed it off. Told myself not to overthink it. Maybe she was just talking to her sister or venting about work. But something in me called it instinct, or just plain paranoia started to twitch. The kisses grew shorter, the laughs a little more forced. We still said, I love you, but somehow it felt routine, like checking a box. I chalked it up to stress. Teaching had been rough on her lately. She had new responsibilities, tough students, long evenings grading papers. It made sense. I wasn't about to be that husband who jumped to conclusions just because his wife seemed tired. But you know what they say, when you ignore the red flags long enough, you start painting them white. And that's exactly what I did. Until one night, something happened. Something that cracked the surface I'd been trying so hard to keep smooth. And from that crack, everything started to pour out. You ever get that feeling? Like someone's holding back, but they're doing it with a smile? That was Amanda. At first, I didn't think much of it. She'd always liked her space. I respected that. I mean, we both worked all day, buried in code. Her buried in Shakespeare-esso. A little phone time didn't seem like a red flag. But slowly, things started to shift. She used to leave her phone just lying around. Kitchen counter, nightstand, wherever. Now it was practically glued to her hand. She'd take it to the bathroom, bring it to the shower. God, she'd probably sleep with it under her pillow if I let her. And the password? Changed, without a word. I asked her once lightly, not accusing, hey, you changed your passcode? She smiled. Yeah, school policy. They told us to update our devices every month. Sounded reasonable. But something about the way she said it felt off. Then came the laughter. Late at night, she'd be curled up on the couch with her phone, chuckling. Not the polite kind either. The real kind, genuine belly laughs. The kind I hadn't heard from her in a long time. I'd ask, what's so funny? And she'd wave me off with a quick, oh, just a meme. Or, you wouldn't get it, it's a teacher thing. Thing is, I wanted to get it. I wanted to laugh with her. But whatever was making her laugh didn't include me. Not anymore. There were more little things. She started going to bed later. Way later. I'd head upstairs around 11, and she'd say, I'll be up in a bit. I'd wake at 1 a.m., and the other side of the bed was still empty. Or worse, I'd wake up to the glow of her screen in the dark. She'd quickly turn it off, pretend she was asleep, but I saw it. And when I bring it up, I'm just decompressing. Work's been crazy. It was always work. I tried to be understanding. God knows teaching high school isn't a walk in the park. I told myself she was stressed, that maybe she needed space, or just time to zone out. Everyone does these days, right? But it wasn't just the phone. It was how she was. Less touch, less talking, less eye contact. Dinner conversations turned into one-word answers. How was your day? Became fine. Anything happen at school? Not really. Then she'd scroll Instagram for an hour like she was searching for the meaning of life in strangers' selfies. We stopped going out. She'd decline dinner invites, cancel weekend plans, and if I pushed back, she'd snap, say I was smothering her, that I was too intense, that she needed me time. That one stung, because honestly, I wasn't trying to control her. I was just trying to connect. And then, one night, I saw her smile at her phone. Like, really smile. Not a polite grin. Not the forced haha you give your aunt when she sends a cat video. No, this smile was soft, intimate, the kind of smile you give someone when they've said just the right thing at just the right time. And I remember thinking, I haven't seen her smile at me like that in months. That was the moment the knot formed in my stomach. Heavy, cold, tight. Still, I didn't want to believe it. I told myself I was overreacting, that I was being dramatic, that this was what marriage looked like after a decade, just a slow fade into silence. But I couldn't shake the feeling. So one day, while she was in the shower, I did something I never thought I'd do. I picked up her phone. And you know what? It was locked. Not just with a password, but with Face ID. Her face, not mine. I stood there, holding it, feeling like a criminal in my own home. And the worst part? I wasn't even mad at her. I was mad at myself for not noticing sooner, for brushing off the signs, for letting the laughter in our house become something I wasn't part of. I put the phone back. She never knew I touched it. But from that day on, I started watching, because whether I liked it or not, something was happening. And I wasn't about to sit back and let it destroy the life we built. I wish I could say I confronted her like a man in a movie, strong, direct, unshaken. But real life's messier than that. It was a Tuesday night, ordinary, rain tapping on the windows, leftovers on the stove, her laughter drifting from the living room. That laugh again. I'd had enough. "Hey," I said, trying to sound casual. "You've been kind of glued to your phone lately." She didn't even look up. Everyone is. "Sure, but I don't know. You okay?" That got her attention. She put her phone down and tilted her head. "Why? Because I have a life outside of you?" That hit harder than it should have. "I didn't say that," I said quickly. "I just feel like we're a little disconnected lately." She smirked. "Maybe you're just paranoid." That word stuck. Paranoid. It was the tone. Really. The way she said it, like I was some clingy weirdo, like concern for your own marriage was some kind of mental illness. I didn't push. I just nodded. Let her win the round. But my gut was screaming. Then came the accident. The kind of thing that makes you wonder if the universe is tired of your indecision. Saturday morning. She had a teacher's brunch or whatever, some school thing. I stayed home, was doing laundry when I noticed her laptop on the kitchen table. Open. Screen still lit. Normally, she locked it. Always. But I guess she'd been in a hurry. I glanced at it. I swear, I just glanced. And there it was. A single message. Not a full chat, not a thread, just a message. From someone named D. "You looked incredible last night. Wish I didn't have to wait until Tuesday to see you again." I froze. You know when your body gets cold before your brain catches up? That was me. I read it twice, 3 times, hoping, praying that maybe it was a joke. Some inside thing, a line from a show. Hell, I'd take it being from a female friend messing around. But deep down, I knew. It was the kind of message that hangs heavy, intimate, confident, familiar. And it wasn't from me. I didn't touch anything, didn't scroll, didn't take a screenshot. I just backed away, sat down, stared at the wall. Then I laughed. It was short, dry, ugly, one of those laughs that taste like rust. I think part of me needed that message, needed something solid, because until then, I could still lie to myself, still say I was imagining things. But not now. I went through the rest of the day pretending everything was normal. When she got back from brunch, she kissed my cheek and told me they'd picked a venue for the next PTA fundraiser. I smiled. I even asked her what color dress she was going to wear. Inside, I was breaking. That night, after she went to sleep, I lay next to her in the dark, wide awake, thinking about D. Tuesday. What the hell last night meant. And most of all, what I was supposed to do next. Because now the question wasn't if something was happening. It was how far it had gone, and whether I was ready to find out. You know that moment in cartoons where someone sticks a fork in a socket and gets zapped, hair fried, eyes spinning? Yeah, that was me. Only it wasn't funny. That message from D sat in my head like a ticking clock. I couldn't ignore it anymore. I couldn't unsee it. And the worst part? She was right there, laughing, cooking dinner, asking how my day was, playing wife like nothing was off. So I did what any normal man being quietly ripped apart would do. I waited till she left for her yoga class, the one she started 2 months ago, the one she never invited me to join. I opened her laptop, hands shaking, like I was defusing a bomb with a spoon. I expected it to be locked, password protected, but it wasn't. Either she got sloppy or just didn't think I'd ever look. Either way, I was in. At first, just emails, boring, everyday stuff. Then I found the folder. Buried under documents, taxes, 2021 private. Yeah, real subtle. Inside screenshots, chat logs, photos. And I swear to you, my heart damn near stopped. There he was. D. His real name, Dylan. Some guy from her high school days. Reconnected on Facebook. I read the whole thing. Started out casual. Hey, remember when? Turned into, you've always been beautiful. Then into, I still think about you. And somewhere along the way, it exploded. They texted every day. Not just flirty, garbage, I mean intimate, detailed, messy stuff. There were photos of her, of him, stuff she never shared with me, not in 10 years. There were talks about meeting, about how hard it was pretending. There was this one line from her that hit me like a bat to the chest. Sometimes I think I settled. I love him, but with you, it feels real. That was about me. I was who she settled for. I slammed the laptop shut. Just sat there, head spinning, hands numb. You know the worst part? It wasn't the messages, or even the pictures. It was reading how she talked about me, like I was this background character in her life, like I was just there, reliable, predictable, safe. She told him she wished I'd cheat first so she could leave guilt-free. She told him I'd never see it coming. Well, joke's on her. I saw it. Every dirty word, every promise, every plan to sneak away for a weekend. She was building a future with someone else right under my nose. And I'd been the idiot watering a dead plant. That night, I didn't sleep. I didn't cry. I just stared at the ceiling, playing every memory in reverse, trying to spot the moment she stopped choosing me, and wondering if I'd ever be able to unsee what I now knew. I waited a full day. Don't ask me how. Maybe I needed to feel calm. Maybe I just wanted to see if she'd lie with the same eyes that once said, I do. So the next night, I made us dinner. Chicken piccata, her favorite. Wine, candles, music, real peaceful, real normal. And after we ate, I said, we need to talk. She blinked, smiled. Uh-oh, that sounds serious. I nodded. It is. I pulled out the folder. A stack of printed pages, screenshots, photos, conversations. I placed them gently on the table, didn't even raise my voice. Her face froze mid-smile. And you know what's wild? She didn't ask what it was. She knew. She reached for the stack, flipped a page, then looked up at me. Silence. I said nothing. Finally, she opened her mouth. Where did you get this? Not, it's not what you think. Not, I'm so sorry. Just that. Does it matter? I asked. She hesitated, then tried the classic move. It was just texting. We never even met. I stared at her and said, you were planning a weekend trip with him. Her eyes welled up. Voice got shaky. But it didn't happen. I leaned back in the chair. It didn't happen yet, I said. She looked down. And then came the line, the one I'll never forget. It wasn't real. It was just fantasy. Just talking. It's not like I cheated. I laughed. I actually laughed out loud. That bitter, broken kind of laugh that doesn't even feel human. You told him you loved him, I said. You sent him pictures you never sent me. You said you wished I'd cheat so you could leave without guilt. And you're telling me it wasn't real? She started crying, said she was sorry, said it was a mistake, said she felt stuck, bored, like we were roommates, said she didn't mean to hurt me. I didn't yell. I didn't throw anything. I just sat there, tears stinging the back of my eyes, but not falling. I didn't think you'd ever find out, she whispered. I nodded slowly. Yeah, that's the part that hurts the most. And for the first time in our 10 years together, I saw it. Not the guilt, not the regret, the fear. She knew she broke something that couldn't be fixed. And I knew. I couldn't pretend anymore. I packed a bag that night. Didn't say much, just told her I needed space. She tried to hug me. I stepped back. Not out of spite. I just couldn't let her touch me. Not when my skin still burned with every word she'd written to him. I drove to my friend Caleb's place. Didn't call ahead, just showed up, knocked, and when he opened the door, I said, man, I can't be home right now. He didn't ask questions. Just let me in. Handed me a blanket, pointed to the couch and said, crash here as long as you need. That couch saved my life. Not because it was soft, it wasn't, but because I needed somewhere to fall. The first night, I just lay there, staring at the ceiling fan, listening to the silence scream in my ears. No sleep, no peace. I didn't eat for almost 2 days. Everything tasted like cardboard and regret. I'd pour cereal, let the milk go warm, then throw it out. And the worst part? Her words. Those goddamn words from the messages. I wish I could be with you instead. He's so predictable, so safe, But you make me feel alive. I think I love you. Each one felt like a knife sliding in just a little deeper. And the voice in my head kept asking, was I ever enough? Or was I just the place she waited until something better came along? I scrolled through the screenshots over and over like some twisted self-torture, looking for meaning, looking for some clue she had a conscience. But it wasn't there. I wasn't even angry. Not yet. Just empty. Like she took something out of me and left a hollow shell behind. At one point, Caleb came in and just sat next to me. Didn't say a word. Didn't need to. Sometimes silence is louder than any pep talk. I think I cried once. Middle of the night. Quietly. Curled up on that couch, fists clenched, whispering, why? Why wasn't I enough? I didn't get an answer. But I knew one thing. I couldn't live in that pain forever. I had to do something. I came back 3 days later. Same street, same driveway, same door I'd walked out of. But nothing felt the same. That house, our house, it wasn't home anymore. It was just the place where everything I believed in had cracked. She opened the door like she'd been waiting. Hair messy, eyes red. She looked smaller somehow, like guilt had shrunk her. Hey, she whispered, like the world might break if she said it too loud. I nodded, walked in, didn't hug her, didn't take off my shoes, just stood in the hallway, heart beating like a war drum in my chest. We sat in the living room, across from each other, coffee table between us, like some kind of no man's land. She looked at me like she was searching for something in my face, some softness, some sign that I still cared. I looked at her the way you look at a stranger who knows too much about you. I'm sorry, she said, voice cracking. I didn't answer, just waited. I never wanted to hurt you, she added. Still, I said nothing. Then she broke full-on tears, shaking shoulders, sobs that made her voice sound like it was unraveling. I love you, she said. I messed up, but I love you. You ever hear something that used to mean the world, and now it just sounds like noise? That was me. She tried to explain, said it started as boredom, as curiosity, said she felt lonely, like I drifted, like she wasn't being seen. But I didn't cheat, not really, she said, eyes desperate. We never even met in real life. I laughed. Honest to God, I laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was insulting. Not really, I said. You planned vacations. You called him your escape. You told him things you never told me. She shook her head, crying harder. It didn't mean anything. Then why did you hide it? I snapped. Why did it have passwords and fake names and late-night whispers when I was in the shower? She was silent. I stood up, walked to the kitchen. Just needed distance. Air. Something. When I came back, she was still crying, but quieter now. I don't want to lose you, she said. That was the moment I realized. She didn't cry because she hurt me. She cried because she got caught. And you know what hurt more than anything? That she didn't fight for us when it mattered. She waited until everything burned, then tried to save the ashes. I looked at her, the woman I once called my best friend, and all I saw was a wall between us that couldn't be climbed, no matter how many apologies she stacked on top of each other. I don't hate you, I said finally, but I don't trust you, and I don't think I ever will. She nodded slowly, as if she already knew. And just like that, I knew. This wasn't a crack we could patch up. It was a break. Final. There wasn't some dramatic fight that pushed me over the edge. No screaming, no broken plates, no throwing clothes into a suitcase. It was just silent. And in that silence, I realized this wasn't something I could live with. So I got up early one morning, made coffee like I always did. But instead of sitting across from her and pretending we still had something to salvage, I picked up my keys and drove downtown. To a lawyer. Small office. Quiet guy. Didn't ask unnecessary questions. Just listen. I want a divorce, I said. He gave a slow nod. Asked if there was infidelity. I said yes. He asked if it was physical. I told him, doesn't matter. She crossed the line. That was enough for me. He explained the process. Paperwork. Court dates. How we'd split things. We didn't have kids, so that made things simpler. But no matter how easy it looked on paper, it still felt like cutting off a part of myself. That evening, I told her. She didn't cry this time. She just stared at the floor, like she'd known it was coming. Didn't beg. Didn't shout. Just whispered, okay. I told a few close friends. They backed me without question. You did everything you could, one of them said. You can't fix someone who doesn't want to be honest. My parents? That was harder. They loved her. My mom cried. My dad kept asking if I was sure. I am, I said. And for the first time since this mess started, I'm in it completely. It wasn't about anger anymore. It was about peace. I needed to breathe again, to be alone without feeling lonely. To look in the mirror and not see a man who let himself be lied to day after day. And yeah, it stung. The idea of letting go of 10 years together, it hurt. But staying in something broken just because it used to be whole, that hurts a hell of a lot more. I slept better that night than I had in weeks. Wasn't joy. Wasn't relief. It was just clarity. And that was enough. She didn't fight it. Didn't storm out. Didn't smash a glass or throw dramatic accusations. She just signed the papers. Quietly. And a few days later, she packed her things. Neatly. Methodically. She took her books, her clothes, the framed pictures from our wedding that used to hang in the hallway, left the mugs we bought on our honeymoon, the blanket we fought over every night, the coffee machine I noticed that stayed too. And then she was gone. No final speech. No, please don't do this. Just the sound of the door closing, and me standing in the middle of the apartment like a tourist in my own life. There wasn't any anger left. No boiling blood, no rage, just a weird stillness, like someone had turned the volume down on everything. I wasn't crying, wasn't even sad, exactly. I was just empty. It's strange, you know, how someone can be a part of every moment, every memory, every plan, and then, just like that, become a ghost. I started doing things by habit. 2 plates on the table, 2 cups in the sink. It took me days to stop leaving the bathroom door half open, like I was expecting her to walk by and yell at me for it. The bed felt too big. The apartment too quiet. Even my breathing sounded loud. Friends kept checking in. How are you holding up? I always gave the same answer. I'm okay. And maybe I was, just not whole. I went back to work. Kept my head down. Nodded along when people talked about weekend plans or family vacations. No one knew. I didn't post about it, didn't broadcast my heartbreak to the world. It wasn't pride, just exhaustion. I didn't want sympathy. I wanted peace. And for the first time, in weeks, maybe months, I started to feel it. Tiny pieces of it, anyway. When I walked through the park, when I made dinner just for myself and actually enjoyed the silence. When I realized I didn't have to wonder who she was texting. I wasn't healed, not yet, but I had stopped bleeding. And that was a start. Months have passed, long enough for the apartment to start smelling like me again, for the dent in the pillow on her side of the bed to smooth out, for her toothbrush in the holder to feel like a vague memory instead of a reminder. I live alone now. And you know what's funny? I never imagined I'd say this, but it's not terrible. It's quiet, yeah, but it's a peaceful kind of quiet. Not the suffocating kind that used to wrap around me when I was lying next to someone who was already emotionally gone. At first, I tried to distract myself, filled every day with noise, work, workouts, errands, calls, anything to avoid thinking, anything to avoid feeling. But eventually, the silence stopped scaring me. I started listening to it. Sometimes I catch myself thinking about her. Not often, but it happens. Not with hate, not even with sadness anymore. Just with curiosity. Like remembering an old movie you watched once, one that started off great, but fell apart halfway through. I wonder if she ever thinks of me, if she regrets it, if she misses the way I used to leave her little notes in the kitchen, or how I always carried the heavy grocery bags without being asked. I'll never know, and honestly, I don't need to, because here's what I've learned, and it took a lot of pain to get here. Not everyone who smiles at you is happy with you. Not every promise is meant to be kept, and not every forever lasts. I used to think betrayal came with shouting and broken dishes, but the real kind, the one that breaks something inside you for good, it's quieter than you'd expect. It's a shift in the way someone looks at you, a late reply, a forced laugh. You feel it long before you know what it is, but you tell yourself it's nothing. You want to believe. I did. I wanted to believe that what we had was solid, that all the memories we made meant something permanent. But it wasn't permanent. It was a season, a chapter. And now the book has turned its page. I don't hate her, and I don't thank her either. I'm just aware. Aware of what I ignored. Aware of what I gave and what I gave up. Mostly, I'm aware of myself now. I know my limits. I know that if someone makes me question my worth, I'll walk away next time, not after months of slow dying inside. I've changed. I don't flinch at late night texts anymore. I don't check apps or overthink silence. I just breathe. I started taking care of myself. Got back into old hobbies, woodworking, running. I reconnected with people I drifted from, not to fill a hole, but to remember who I was before all this. Turns out, I like that guy. The one before the doubts, before the questions, before the lies. And I'm building from him again. People ask if I'll ever trust someone again. I don't have a clear answer. Trust, for me, isn't something I hand out lightly now. It's earned. brick by brick. And if someone comes along who's willing to build with me, not just take shelter, then maybe. But for now, I'm good. I live simply. I laugh more than I used to. I sleep better. I don't wait for footsteps in the hallway or wonder who's on the other end of a smile. And I keep one photo on my shelf. Not of her. Of me taken just a few months ago. Smiling. Truly smiling. After everything, because that's what's left. Not bitterness. Not regret. Just me. Still standing. Still breathing. And finally free.